Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel. In today's video, I am sharing 3 quick and easy Easter cards. Today, I'll be doing a mix of Slimline designs and an A2 card. I'll also be using 2 different stamp companies, Trinity Stamps and Sunny Studio. So let's dive right into the first technique, which uses colorful ink pads to create colorful designs. To start this card, I am going to use Sunny Studio's Eggs to Die For stamp set. The coordinating die is this one. It's very affordable, so I definitely recommend grabbing it because all of the eggs are the same size, so you only need one die, which is a brilliant design. So I am using Catherine Pooler's Date Night inks. You guys know how much I love these colors. And yes, these can be layering stamps, and I will show you how you can do that. But because I want to go really quickly, not as quickly as the video, obviously, because I'm not superhuman, I just stamped the detail layer, except for this one. If you stamp that full layer of egg, then you can stamp one of the detail layers on top and you'll have 2 colors of ink. But for me, the other ones with the white were just as cute. So if you're in a rush, sometimes you can get away with just doing 1 layer of stamping. I am going to stamp the little bunny ears and the outline egg in Gina K Black Amalgam ink because I'm going to do a tiny hint of Copic coloring. Since I am stamping it and wanting to color right away, I'm going to really heat set this image because ink will smear if you don't have it completely dry before you use your Copics or other alcohol markers on it. So again, that coordinating die set really comes in handy, not just to cut out the egg, but also to cut out the little bunny ears. For the other animal egg, it's a little chick, so I'm going to stamp the outline, not the outline, I'm going to stamp the full image egg in the yellow color that I have here, and then I'm going to stamp the little chick face on top. Now, if I had stamped that a little bit lower, I would not have cut off his little feather at the top. So just beware if you're going to stamp the little chick, stamp them a little bit further down. This is Sunny Studio's Layered Basket. I've showed this stamp set before. I really love it because it's such a realistic looking image just by stamping 4 layers of ink. And I use Distress Oxides to do my layered stamping most of the time. I used a sentiment from the stamp set that says, "May your Easter basket be filled with happiness." And then I adhered the basket down without putting any tape runner on the top of the basket so that I could tuck eggs inside it. So then I'm just using tape runner on the eggs, tucking them behind each other, and just filling up this basket with a whole ton of eggs. I really love all the different details that you can put on the eggs. A little bit of liquid adhesive on the bunny ears and then just put that little bunny egg right on top and then set that guy aside to dry just for a few minutes. I am using Thermoweb's Ultra Bond adhesive to adhere the feet of the chick as well. And then I'm going to use Gina K for Thermoweb foam squares behind these 2 little guys, pull off the back protective layers and place those in front of the basket. This was such a quick and easy Easter card, but I love this one so much. It is the bright colors that I love, and I'm going to layer it over an A2 piece of Gina K's Turquoise Sea cardstock. You can see it had a little square cut out. I keep those right by my desk so I can use them just like this. Since it's going to go on a card base, you won't see the little cutout square in the back. But super, super cute set and really easy to use. Another way to create a really cute Easter design is to use some white heat embossing and selective pencil coloring. This is Trinity Stamps Slimline Bunnies stamp set. So you can see that this stamp set is extra long and will not fit inside of your traditional stamp and die pocket. So what I do is I cut the packaging right between the top Slimline stamp and the bottom additional stamps. It's got some additional images and sentiments. And I just cut, it's got the front and the back and the stamps in between. And then you can fit this long stamp right inside your stamp and die pocket, and then the other stamp can go in the back or in the front as well. But it's just a easy way to keep these extra long stamps stored in the storage that you already use for your other stamps and dies. I am lining up the Slimline Bunnies stamp set on some Gina K craft cardstock, and I'm using some anti-static powder all over that craft cardstock because I don't want any white embossing powder sticking where it's not supposed to. I sweep away the excess powder with the Tonic Studio sweep, and now I'm going to ink up the stamp with Versamark ink. And I am going to definitely use my Debbie tool. I didn't show it here, but I use my Debbie tool to get a really good impression. And the Debbie tool is the handle with the block and then the felt underneath. Once you get a good impression, just pour white embossing powder over the entire image, making sure you get all of those little bunnies covered, and just tap on the side to get off any excess powder. Looks good to me. I think everybody's covered. So then I'm going to use my heat tool. Make sure that heat tool is super hot before you bring it to the paper. That will help prevent warping. It will also prevent you from scorching the paper and just leaving it on the image too long and getting that white embossing powder to not look crisp and white. Then I'm going to use a trimmer to trim down this image so that everything is flush on the sides. There's no additional cardstock on the edges. I'm going to do some selective pencil coloring. I'm using Prismacolor Premier pencils today. Those are my favorite, especially on cardstocks that are not necessarily pencil cardstocks, because they're super smooth and creamy and really easy to blend. I'm not going to really be doing any blending here. I'm just going to do some very basic coloring, and as you can see, these images are pretty tiny, so they don't need a lot of blending or anything. But I did want to add some hints of color on top of the craft cardstock, and pencils are great for that. So I am using a pink pencil for all the little inner ears of the bunnies. I'm using a different pink for all the little cheeks of the bunnies. And then I'll use a third pink color for anybody who has an open mouth, and you can see that there, so that this way you're just getting little pops of color throughout the card. I also used a nice bright orange for this extra large carrot that one bunny is holding. And the other great thing about the heat embossing image is, similar to when you paint inside a heat embossed image, the heat embossing acts as a wall, so it really keeps your pencil coloring contained. It's hard to color on top of the embossing powder, so it really keeps everything in the lines. I liked this one little bunny that's looking in the other direction, so I wanted to make sure he was bright white and stood out on the craft. The rest of them, I am filling in their little tummies with a light gray, and then I'm adding some other pops of color so that one of them is in a cracked egg. I put some blue and then blue on the dotted egg at the top, so I want basically all these colors to come in 3 little spots, just so that it moves the eye around the paper. Prismacolor also has a silver, so I added that silver pencil to the little shine marks on that one bunny's sunglasses. This is just so much fun, so easy, and it really is quick because you're only coloring tiny little portions. I decided to color in the backgrounds in a rainbow of pastel colors. So I used pink in kind of 2 rows of the backgrounds behind the bunnies, and then moved on to a light orange, a light yellow, a light green, and then I'll do a light blue and a light purple. The only thing to be careful is to just make sure you're not actually coloring a bunny, you're only coloring a background, because they're so overlapped with each other. You have to just really be careful that you're not going to color somebody's arm or leg purple, which would be fine. If you want a little purple bunny, that is absolutely fine as well. But I wanted just those backgrounds to be a nice little rainbow. And last but not least, I thought that purple was way too dark, so I'm going over it with a white pencil. The Prismacolor Premier white pencils are amazing. I buy them in packs of 12 because I love using them as details, and they're just really good white pencils. I used the Trinity Stamps scallop panel dies to cut out a white scallop background to layer this little card panel on top of, so that it would just have a really cute kind of frilly look. I thought it was perfect for bunnies and Easter, and just a really fun way to kind of contain this image and give it a clean outline. The next thing I'm going to do is I just wanted to make a base, and I did want to mention that I did buy the score pal in the 1/8 so that I just put the panel inside the score pal over an 8.5 by 11 piece of white cardstock, and then I have plenty of lines to line up and score at. This is just a really easy way to create a slimline card base without really having to take out a ruler or measure. You're just using the ruler of your score pal. So then I put the folded edge inside my trimmer and then just cut off at the bottom. And that just creates my card base. And then I just have to decide if it is wide enough, if it's not too wide, and that my card panel will go over it nicely. So I'm just going to layer it with some tape runner, that card panel over the card base, and then I just need a sentiment. So I went to another Trinity stamp set for this larger Happy Easter stamp set and decided that I was going to stamp and heat emboss it with white embossing powder on the craft as well. And so it is just pouring that embossing powder on top, heat setting it, and then trimming it down to a sentiment strip. Then I just pop that sentiment strip up on foam tape, and I love the way all those bunnies look with that Happy Easter sign. For this next card, I wanted to use the Trinity Stamps Slimline Chicks stamp set, but I didn't have time to color in all those little chicks in the stamped image. You can get a really cute card made in minutes just by stamping that image on pattern paper. This is the Memory Box Slimline Spring Plaids pattern paper, which I featured in my latest new and must-have crafty supplies video, and I'll link to that up in the right-hand corner here. I have it in my original Misty. I'm using the side without the gold foiling because I want to stamp this image and I want it to be the main thing that stands out is the image. So I'm using VersaFine Black Onyx ink, which is a pigment ink. It's my favorite ink to use if I'm stamping on top of pattern paper. Because the ink sits on top of the paper, the image will still stand out even over that pattern background. So I am just making sure that I cover up this entire image because there's so many little details with that pigment ink. And now here's the Debbie tool I was talking about before. When I have a large image like this, especially, I use the Debbie tool to get a good impression and just check that out. All those details stamp perfectly between the ink and the tool and the Misty. So I did stamp one of the individual chicks here with Gina K Black Amalgam ink. I'm going to heat set both of those images. The little chick because I wanted to do some quick Copic coloring, and the large image because I don't want it to smear. That pigment ink that stays on top of the pattern paper takes a long time to dry if you don't heat set it. So I definitely recommend heat setting it unless you're going to just set it aside and not work with it for a long time. Okay, so again, just doing some very basic Copic coloring, not even using a ton of blending, just wanted to color this little guy in. I'm using a waffle flower ovals die, and I'm going to only do a partial die cut there so you could see how I just taped off the top. Once again, I am going to trim this down to be exactly the image flush to the edge. I don't like to see the little borders of the paper. You can have it both ways. Absolutely. If you like that border, that's fine as well. I wanted mine flush, and I wanted a yellow piece of cardstock just slightly larger so that I could mat the image on top of some Gina K yellow cardstock. So I used the same exact sentiment from the last card, this time stamped on that same yellow cardstock. And look at all those cute little plaid chicks. Super easy to add the color and the pattern to them just by stamping them in black on top of pattern paper. I added my single chick popped up and then my sentiment glued down to the panel as well. And I love these little plaid chicks. They're so perfect for Easter. Of course, all these techniques could be used for any stamp set or theme of card. If you like to see quick and easy card ideas, I have an entire playlist of them over here. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you can be notified every time I have a new video available. As always, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon.